Hello and welcome. It's so nice to see so many of your faces. Welcome to the first of my 5 workshops for the Paris Fan Club, which I created for people who love Paris and France and all things French. As many of you know from what you just saw, I'm a journalist by trade. And since 2018, I have also been writing a blog called Women of a Certain Age in Paris about my own adventures in France. And so the Paris Club was an obvious extension to continue to build a community of Francophiles like us around the world. So in these workshops, we are going to explore our inner French persona and learn new things. And today we will learn what you really need to know to navigate a trip to France. And our workshop today is called French to Go. And our guest host is Camille Chevalier-Karfis, who has been teaching French to adult English speakers for 25 years. And she's created a process and a program for what she calls a way to learn real life French language. I wish I'd had this years ago when I started learning French. So Camille is coming to us today from a small community in Brittany in northwest France called Pampoix. So it's evening there. Good morning or good afternoon to you, Camille. How are things and how is spring shaping up where you are in France?
You're muted,
Muted, Camille.
Voilà, d'accord. Vous m'entendez maintenant?
Yep, I hear you now.
Parfait. Donc, oui, je suis à Paimpol et tout va bien. Et je suis en France, dans les Côtes d'Armor, in Brittany. And I'm very happy to be here. Hello, everybody.
I hope that was a sample of the French you're going to teach us today. It was great.
Yes.
All right, so before we get started, though, let's say hello to Mark, who is producing this segment along with our team in Vancouver. Bonjour, Mark.
Bonjour. How are you?
Good. Now, you have a French name, actually, right?
With the name like Macaron, you would think I would be fully fluent in parlez-vous and the français, but I am not. I'm guilty.
Okay, well, you're going to benefit from this session today. So everybody, first of all, make sure you're muted, and we'd love to see your faces if you can put your video on. If not, if you don't want to participate, that's up to you. But this is an interactive workshop, so we want to hear from you, and we're hoping that you'll have some questions for us. And so, Mark, will you explain how that's going to work?
Yeah, so for everybody who's familiar with Zoom, on the very bottom of the Zoom window, there's a toolbar, and there's something there that says reactions. And as you can see, when I raise my hand, it shows up in the top corner of your Zoom window. So when you want to share, that's the best way to let us know that you'd like to share so that we can find you quicker in the gallery. So if Diana or someone asks you to raise your hand, that's what we mean by raising your digital hand.
Can you just show us where that is again, Mark?
It's on the bottom toolbar in the Zoom window, and it says reactions. There's a little grayed out smiley face there. And if you click on that, there's a raise your hand button.
Good. Anybody want to raise their hand with a question already? Now, if for some reason that doesn't work for them, they can also put the question in the chat.
In the chat as well. I'll be monitoring the chat. So, and I've got permission to interrupt whenever is necessary. Right. So that's awesome.
Yeah, because we do want to hear from people. So if something comes up as we're talking about it, please feel free to raise your hand or put the question in the chat, and then Mark will tell us about it. Okay, well, let's get started because we have a lot to do. Let's just do a little bit about you, Camille, because the people here don't know much about you. Some do, some don't. Your background, did you grow up in Paris, actually?
I did. I was born in Neuilly-sur-Seine, exactly. And thank you. So it's very close to Paris, and I was there until I was 22 years old. So yeah, I lived really a Parisian life with my parents and my 3 sisters, and went to school and lived fully in Paris.
And what made you want to become a French teacher?
Well, it's life kind of put that in my way. It was never the plan. I didn't study to become a French teacher, which actually was somewhat kind of a gift because it made me think outside of the box, and it allowed me to produce what is now French today, which is not the typical way to teach French.
And were you teaching, who were you teaching at the beginning? Were you always teaching adults?
Yes, I started to teach French in the US. Actually, when I was in the US, I taught mostly adults, a little bit children too, but that was never really my calling. I love kids, and I took care of them also. I was a nanny for a while, but I always loved, meeting new people and helping adults gain their confidence to speak French. So as you can see in your beautiful slide, wow, good job, guys.
We love the hat.
I lived 17 years in the US, and I am also an American citizen and very proud of it. And so it's a big part of my life. My husband here, Olivier, that you see on the picture, and our daughter, Leila. Leila was born in Boston, so she's even an American citizen before she's a French citizen.
And during this process, then you both, your husband and yourself, you developed a special process to actually learn French, right? And that's what started French Today. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The thing is that we really realized that the way French was taught abroad was not really developed for English speakers learning French. And basically, they teach French the way we teach French to French kids learning French grammar. But French kids, they already know how to speak French. They know the pronunciation, the logic of the grammar is very logical to them. They've always learned it. So we really developed a method which is geared to English speakers learning French and also adult learning French. So what do adults want? They want to communicate in French. They want to be able to go to Paris, or okay, France is not only Paris. So go to France or a French-speaking country and communicate efficiently, maybe not in perfect French, but make themselves understood.
And is that what's behind the process that you do? Is you make it very practical? Or is there anything else that you do that's different from the way others teach French?
So I reorganized the whole curriculum to learn French. So I don't follow the same logic as most schools do. And the big step that I've taken, there's two actually. The first one is that my first books are written only in the present tense. Many of you may have experienced the typical school curriculum, which is all about tenses and memorizing all these damned conjugations. Sorry, but it's true, there's so many. And it's such a shock for an English speaker because you don't have all these conjugations and so on. So what schools do is they just hammer over and over and over all these conjugations. And the result is that you cannot order a coffee in France, Yes, conjugations are important and they are a big part of my method, but let's first establish a level of French where you can communicate in the present tense, make yourself understood, understand others. And to understand others, you have to learn what I call spoken French, modern French. It's the way the French speak in real life. I'll give you an example. We write, aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas de soleil, il ne fait pas beau, which means today there's no sun, it's not nice out. Aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas de soleil, il ne fait pas beau. But we say, aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas de soleil, il fait pas beau. So
it's like a contraction.
We eat, exactly, we eat syllables. And if students have not, I'm not saying that students should speak like that themselves, but they are going to hear it. not only in movies, it's not slang French. It's everybody. My 80 years old mom speaks like that. Okay. So if you have not been prepared, if you have not heard this way of speaking French, chances are that you're going to have a real problem when you arrive in France, because you're not going to understand French people when they speak French.
No, you're absolutely right. It's so refreshing to hear
Voilà.
this, having done a whole
Yeah.
degree in French and everything. You're right. It's like mathematical equations. You have to learn the tenses. Okay, so we're going to get to it right now. So naturally, we can't do a whole course today, but we can give people some real practical tips that you can use right away. And, stuff that I wish I had known when I first started going to France.
Mhm.
And even if you're not going to Paris or France in the next little while, don't worry about it, because I think you're going to find this information quite interesting, just about how French people are and how they perceive us. So, okay, so we're going to start with a couple of scenarios. And the first one is the most simple, but it actually has quite a story to it, doesn't it, Camille? The importance of saying bonjour. Tell us.
Yes, it's quite interesting to see how tourists in a foreign country often forget the very basic of politeness that they would apply in their own country. Why? I suppose that they're stressed. They may freeze and not even remember how to say bonjour. But in France, it's very, very important to say bonjour. It's you're wishing. So the word bonjour means good day, bon and jour, but it means more in France. It means I see you. Okay, I acknowledge your presence. I'm not just entering this shop and buying a bottle of wine. Let's see the example I just took. Okay, a bottle of wine.
Good one.
But I'm also acknowledging that there is a person there, that I'm seeing you, and I'm saying hello to you. So it is an important step.
And I've noticed that too. I mean, I did all the wrong things to start with. When you would go into a little boutique, and I mean, in North America, where I live, you would walk into a store, you certainly wouldn't say hello to the person or the woman that was taking care of the store. And I've learned since that that's very rude. It's very nice to walk in and say bonjour madame, or if there's more than one person, bonjour mesdames, or something. And they really do give you better service if you do that. And it's true, even getting on the bus, I found, Camille, is that, even getting on the bus driver and saying bonjour monsieur, they love it. You say you're invading their space. So therefore they want you to acknowledge them. And I just think that's so beautiful, really.
And I think it's really human nature, to want to connect with other people, and to it's so easy to not see people in these everyday, jobs, that it's really good to take the time. And if you want to be even more polite, if you want to also show a little bit of higher education in French, you might want to add monsieur, which is sir, or madame, which is madame, or mademoiselle. Okay, so I know, so say bonjour monsieur, bonjour madame, bonjour mademoiselle. And I know there's a whole big debate right now about mademoiselle that is not used in writing anymore. So a lot of people say, oh, really? You do still use mademoiselle? Yes, when you talk, you still use mademoiselle. So the next question is, when is mademoiselle?
Exactly.
Nobody knows. Okay, mademoiselle means that you are not married. So, I mean, you have to use your wit a little bit. If you're talking to 10 years old, you can safely go for mademoiselle. There's no problem. The problem is when the woman looks, so it's, there's a moment where you don't really know. Well, if you don't know, just say bonjour.
Exactly.
Just
fall for the easy part. Yeah. I wonder if anybody's had that experience. Yeah.
Well, I've had it. Even French people have it. So should I go with madame? Should I go with mademoiselle?
No, I'm glad to hear they have trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Voilà.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the next one, because this is one that really gave me trouble at the beginning. How to order coffee. Okay,
Yes.
I'll go to that slide, Peter. If you've got that one, next one up, you can show us. There we go. Okay, le café. I'm going they, and coffee culture is amazing in France as it is, in Italy and whatever. But what if you just say to someone, je veux un café to the waiter? What are you going to get? You're going to get this, right?
Alors, first of all, je veux
Peter.
is not. Je veux is not the best way to go. You'd rather say je voudrais. Okay, je voudrais is
Perfect.
more polite.
I'd like to,
And yes, and if you just say je voudrais un café, you're gonna have an espresso. Okay, a very short, strong coffee.
Yeah,
and my experience with my fellow Americans is a lot of us drink longer coffee, like un café américain. And so if you just ask a coffee, you're going to have the very short version. Okay. Right. Now, like your present slide says,
this is my favorite.
Wanted, yes, absolutely. Un café crème. Un café crème will give you something very rich, as you write. If you're ordering a cappuccino, the French may serve you something that's already made, and it's kind of a mix, and it's not great. It's not great. Some people will just give you a café crème, and they will not put the difference. Okay, and you can ask for un café au lait. But as the picture shows here, mostly on the left, you may get something with a lot of milk. Like un café au lait is typically what you would have for breakfast in France. A lot of people do still, more or less, okay? And it's a ton of milk. It's a ton of milk with a little bit of coffee in it. So that might be a little bit much, okay? So un café crème is what you want. And if you want a lot of milk, I would go for un double crème.
Crème.
A double cream.
A double
crème.
Yeah, okay. Good one. Yeah, or you can just go in crème, right? Or in crème. And if you want decaffeinated, and deca, and crème.
Un deca.
Yeah.
Voilà, un crème deca, un deca.
Let me ask you something, because I've had waiters frown at me sometimes when I do this. If 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I order a café crème or a café au lait, and they give me a very strange look, a bit of scorn. Why is that?
I'm not quite sure. I've had a café crème at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like after lunch. It's typically French people tend to have an espresso to wake them up for the day. Café au lait is really, it's very funny because it's there's a culture, there's an tourist culture about the café au lait, which we don't really have in France. We don't order café au lait. I've never ordered a café au lait. I've never heard of anybody ordering a café au lait.
Yeah, so I sort of discourage people. I say just go for un crème, and get you around it. Listen, but I heard though that milk, for instance, is not. You don't drink milk after noon, like after the noon period. Is that where it comes from? Oh, you haven't heard that?
Maybe.
Okay,
no, I haven't heard that myself.
Heard that too. That's incredible. All right, let's move on to the cocktail hour, because this again, it's more than just teaching people what to order, but it's about the fact that coffee culture is something in France, but also is the apéro hour, where people go after work. They may not stay for dinner; they'll go home for dinner, right? But generally it's between 6 and 9, and I never know what to order. I don't drink alcohol, but even that, I look at what's around me and I'm going, I don't even know what some of these drinks are. So can you walk us through that a little bit? And this is the list that you gave me of things that people order.
Absolutely. So you started with l'heure de l'apéro. Okay.
That's okay. Something in the background.
That's fine. L'heure de l'apéro. L'heure de l'apéro will vary. It's between 6 and 9 or 8, 9 p.m. That depends also. People have to remember that in France, or winter time, and what I mean is the time that there is day outside.
Yeah.
varies a lot. There's a big
Yes.
change between summer and winter. So
Mhm.
in winter, the sun goes down around 5:30, 6. Okay, so your evening starts much earlier. Okay, and in summertime it can be daylight outside until 10:30.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so you can take l'apéro much later
Later.
because you will maybe have a longer day and you will do more things in your day because it's sunny out and it's a nice day and you want to pack it with funny and crazy things. So
Sure.
l'heure de l'apéro, yes, can vary.
Okay.
And so on prend l'apéro is the way you would ask how, shall we go for a pre-dinner drink?
Right.
And here you have listed some very common drinks. So un kir,
Which is?
which is, well, you have usually white wine with some liqueur. It can be
Cassis.
blackcurrant,
Yeah.
or it can be, voilà, cassis,
Yeah,
un kir
cassis is
cassis. You could
Mhm.
have un kir framboise with some raspberry liqueur, or un kir, whatever is the liqueur you add. Or you could have un kir royal. Un kir royal is with champagne or some bubbly substance.
Nice. Mhm.
Voilà.
And pastis,
Another
people drink pastis? They
Oh,
do?
people drink pastis. Yes,
Ah,
very much, very much. Not only in the south. So the pastis is anise-based liquor that licorice, yes, that you mix with water or not. I mean, some people just put some ice and drink it kind of pure, or some
Mhm.
people will put a lot of water. It depends how you like, how strong you like your drink. Um, and you could have un verre de vin,
Mhm,
un
of
verre
course.
de vin,
Yeah,
and
to choose from.
depending the exactly, un verre de vin rouge, un verre de vin rosé, un verre de blanc, or you could go straight for je voudrais un rouge, un rosé, un blanc, okay, and skip
Right.
the part vert, okay.
Ah, you don't even have to say
Um,
that. You could just go right to
no,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
you could say un rouge, je voudrais un ballon de rouge, un verre de vin rouge,
Mm.
un rouge, s'il vous plaît, voilà.
Or if you
You
like a
can
saison,
have,
I know a lot of people drink
yeah,
Canada Apero, which is a wonderful white wine. Yeah, they just say,
yes, you can ask exactly, or you can ask for the wine card. You can ask. I mean, after you, there's many variation. But if you ask un verre de vin rouge, you'll get the red of the house, and it
yeah,
should, hopefully will be drinkable. We're in France, so
good in France. Yes.
yes,
And a beer, obviously, but here's another thing. I see a lot of people drinking champagne, for cocktails, which I think is so cool.
yes, champagne. Champagne is always the drink to go with if you don't know what to order. Champagne goes with everything, and it can be a pre-dinner drink, it can be an after-dinner drink, it can be a during dinner drink.
Mhm.
So if you have a doubt, you can always ask for du champagne, okay? Knowing that it's also, I mean, it's an upscale drink, so it depends the people you're hanging with, but yeah, it's something that costs more than une bière for sure. Okay, so you may, if you're being invited by people and you're I don't know, this show is for women over 50, but if you're hanging with students who have no money, you may not want to, and they're going to invite you, you may go for une bière and not une coupe de champagne.
Remember those days. And what about non-alcoholic drinks? I can remember way back, I would order a citron pressé, for instance, a pressed
Yes.
lemon drink, right? Which was delicious. They
Yes.
put lemon over top ice, and then you'd add water and sugar or whatever. So is that a
Absolutely.
limonade that you got here? Limonade is like that? Is that it's not?
Yes, not exactly. Une limonade is nowadays, if you ask une limonade, you're going to have something close to a 7-Up. Okay, so it's a prepared drink. Okay, citron pressé is what you call more in the US. We have fresh lemonade.
Mhm.
Fresh squeezed lemonade would be un citron pressé. Une limonade is something bubbly, sugary that you'll get in a bottle. Okay. You can have un Perrier. Un Perrier is the brand for this bubbly water, okay? And you could add a slice of lemon in it. So that's something very, very common in France. You may ask un citron, un Perrier citron, for example. And if the waiter answers you something you don't understand, is that they're actually telling you that they don't have the brand Perrier, but they're offering you another kind of bubbly water. So exactly, they would say une Badois ou sans Pellegrino, and then you say yes, oui, merci, that's good.
But that's for the word for sparkling in French is what? Gazeuse?
Gazeuse. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Bravo, bravo, très bien.
Always think of gas, guys, and then just say that anyway.
Ouais.
Water with
That's it. De l'eau gazeuse, oui.
And in menthe à l'eau, tell us what
yes.
is that?
Une menthe à l'eau is it's so it's water, okay, and it's a I'm not sure how you say syrup. Do you say syrup
Yes,
in English?
We would call that. Even it's a French word, but the French don't say that. It's a crème de menthe.
Okay, so yeah. If you ask in France crème de menthe, you would have something with alcohol in it. Okay, so in France we call it sirop, and we're very fan. We love our sirop. We have sirop de menthe. We have grenadine, which is mixed red fruits. Yes. You can have all the fruits pretty much come in syrup, and sirop, which is also for something that our kids drink a lot for after school snack. You would get water with some sirop in it, and it's good. And it's good. Try it when you're in France.
Okay, good. Okay, well, let's move on to a little bit of etiquette, which is you were educating me about this actually. So tell me a little bit about this, because I think people really, I think one of the things I feel, and I love to hear from somebody else, when you go to France, I don't want people to think I'm French, because I don't think they'll ever think I'm French, but I want to fit in a little bit. I want to look like I'm there. So see, these are some of the things you said are just like right at the top of the list that we should be aware of. Yeah.
Yes, it's something, as you said, I have lots of my students, when they go to France, they say, well, what can I do to be more French? And I tend to tell them, well, it's going to be a long shot because you're not French. Okay, so maybe let's start by not trying so hard to pretend that you're French, because you may fall into the cliche and it may not feel very natural. So we're very happy to have tourists in France, okay? But it's true that sometimes our etiquette can clash depending where you come from. You can come from, well, in Canada or America or England. Our etiquette is kind of the same. But there are little things I've seen students make, which, yes, it's not very polite to say that. So please, guys, don't take it personally. I'm American as well, and I know, what it is to try to fit in another country. But when you speak English, you need the English language itself asks for you to be louder because of all the ha, pa, ta, ka that there is in English, that there's not so much in French.
Right.
And I've heard some of my students be very loud compared to the French tables around them in a restaurant, okay? Not so much loud all the time, but have peak in their voice when, I don't know how, when suddenly, yes, it seems that we are only hearing them in the restaurant. So be aware of that. You may want to keep your voice a little bit down compared to what you're accustomed to, okay? Table manners. Table manners are quite different, yes. Yeah. I've written a whole article on it on French Today. If you do the search on table manners, you'll find, I have several articles on that. The most table manners are pretty much the same. To me, what I've seen that I notice the most is the way to handle silverware. I've seen many of my American friends, use their hands like that, to use silver hand. And we always I don't have problem putting my hands in
Don't
front of
cross
the
over.
camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that. So
Mhm.
along the side of the knife and the fork, that's important. Not so much if you eat, if you bring your food to, I know in America, people are very, uh, people who fancy themselves upper class like to say that they will only use their right hand to bring the food to their mouth. We are at least less attentive to that in France than the position really on the hand. Well, I've never seen any French person.
Your fist.
Here I am.
Oh, yeah, I
You
know
know,
what you mean,
yes,
like this.
holding their
Holding
yeah,
the fork and that. Okay, but the
yeah,
tendency is to have the knife, if you can see the knife in this hand and the fork, and keep
yes,
it that way, as opposed to in America we often put the fork in the right hand and then scoop things up. So I don't see
yes. But
people do that. I
but
don't see.
I think it will be okay. That will be more discreet, you know. And the other thing I would say about table manners, which is super hard for me, is where you keep your hands. Which in France, when not eating, when resting, actually, our hands are on the table,
People. Yes.
whereas in the US they're on your laps, on your legs, okay, under
We're
the
taught
table.
not to put our hands on the table.
Exactly. And in France it's the contrary. And so you should see me when I have dinner in America, and I'm having dinner with some, you know, new friends. I'm trying to be on my best behavior. I am constantly doing this little dance, you know, up, 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 because
I
I
did not
never
know that. I'll have to remember that
keep my
one.
hands.
And I got to move along a little bit here, but my favorite one here is don't expect a quick meal. Like if you're going in and say, well, I just need a snack and I need something quickly, that will be frowned upon.
Uh, well, not necessarily frowned upon. If if you need to have a quick meal,
Yeah.
because you can, I mean, sometimes you have to catch a movie or catch a train or something like that, do tell it to the waiter right away. I mean, start by saying that. Actually enter the restaurant and tell them, okay, I have to be out of here in 30 minutes, is it possible? And then the waiter will tell you, yes, but then order only today's special, for example.
Mhm.
Or yeah, but don't order, you know, the 3 meal course with which is an experience which is supposed to last 3 hours. So it depends. If you have to choose your restaurants, if you want a fast meal, you may want to go to a brasserie, which is much faster than a restaurant
That is
usually.
different.
And yes, and also always advise, tell your waiter, because if the brasserie, if you're in Paris and you're in one of the big brasserie and they are full and it's a Saturday afternoon, yeah, there are some customers before you and they may not be able to offer you a quick meal. So communication there is key.
We have a question from Cynthia who says, do you still have to
Yes.
ask a bill? Yeah, the bill.
Yes,
So
absolutely. You do have to ask for the bill. Otherwise, people will not rush you. Excellent question, Cynthia. Yes, very, very good. Uh, the It's not, as you said, don't expect a quick meal. It's not in the French tradition to push you out of the restaurant. So you know, you can sit there and stay, and usually, I mean, you have to be aware of that too. When you are the last one in the restaurant for dinner, for example, you're the last one, then they're starting to clean around you. It's a way to say, okay guys, get out of here, we're trying to close the restaurant.
And here's just one that you told me about, is that even with the 15% sometimes on the bill, you suggest also leaving a tip as well on top of that.
Yes. So this is really something that aggravates me. It's one of things that really, really make me angry. It's all these books that say, oh, and do not leave a tip. It's vulgar.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't know who are the people that wrote these books, but obviously they've never been waiters in their life, because I don't know any waiter that would say, oh, and this person left me a 20 euro tip. How vulgar. I mean, it's of course waiters love tips. Okay, they don't work for free. So if you as Americans, I am accustomed to leaving a 20% tip. If I don't, it means I had a bad service or something. Even if the food was not so, I always leave a tip because the waiter is not necessarily responsible for the quality of the food. Okay, um, and yes, foreigners are kind of expected to leave a tip, and of course, waiters are going to enjoy it. So you don't have to leave a tip. It is included. French people usually leave their a couple of coins that they have in their pocket, maybe 1 or 2 euros. Okay, but if you had an excellent meal and for a total cost of 30 euros, and you feel that in your country this would have been $100 meal, and you feel generous and feel like leaving a 10 euro tip, do it, please do it.
Because we do. Kim just came through with yeah, she got it answered. So French people actually do leave tips. It's not just foreigners too.
No, French people, it's not in their culture. For us, we've been raised to not leave a tip since it's included. And I remember it was the time of the francs. So a while back, I was coming back from the States. I left 30 francs tip, and I was inviting my parents, and my dad left the restaurant and he gave me back my coins. I was like, what are you doing? And he said, come on, Camille, you forgot, you don't have to leave a tip there. And I said, Dad, I'm inviting and I feel like leaving a tip. So I went back in the restaurant and put the coins back.
Well, that's new information for me. So I appreciate that. That's really interesting. All right, keep moving on here because we got still some stuff to do. Again, I want to talk about la bise, and the la bise, which most of you know, is when people kiss from cheek to cheek in France, and it depends where you are. Sometimes it's twice, sometimes it's 3 times, sometimes it's 4 times. I've been everywhere, and it's lots of fun. But with COVID and everything, that disappeared for a while. Is la bise, has it returned? Are French people?
It has.
It has?
It has. It has, with a little bit less strength. It's to say that nowadays people allow themselves to say, I'd rather not do la bise. I guess that it gave a little bit more freedom to the French people who are anti-bise to not do it. And myself, when I go now, it's true that before la bise was maybe a little bit too overstretched, meaning that sometimes you arrive to a place and there are can you hear me? There's something very loud.
No, we can hear
I'm gonna
you.
let it go by.
No.
Okay. Sometimes you for example, when I took my child to school, and she was 4 years old, she was in a school with 30 very young children full of germs. You know how kids are.
Yeah, and they pass those around like crazy. Yes.
And you kissed everybody. You kissed all the kids, all the parents, the teacher, and I'm like,
wow.
I don't know these people. I don't know all these kids. I mean, I'm okay to kiss Leila's friends and maybe the parents I know, but do I really have to go kissing on 60 people, sometimes 70 every morning?
Oh, I've been there.
So
yeah. Anyway, okay, so let's move on.
I see a question.
A couple of questions here. Okay.
Yes. Is there an easy way to signal to someone that you don't want to do la bise without offending? Not really an easy way, but smile. Start with a smile, okay, and just take a step back and maybe put your hand, like that, and with a smile say merci, mais you may have to come with an excuse like j'ai un petit rhume. Okay, I have a little cold, or something like that. If you say non, je ne fais pas la bise, that might be a little bit too much. Okay, but just take a step back, a big smile.
Is it acceptable to put your hand out to shake a French person's hand, meeting them for the first time?
Yes, it is perfectly acceptable. And if you want to be warmer, maybe you can, do a cover
Mm.
handshake where you shake with both your hands and so on. But I say also smile. The smile is the most easy way to communicate friendship and being open to things. Again, I've seen books that say don't smile when you're in France.
What?
Uh,
Maybe
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's changed a lot, I think. Yeah, no kidding. Let's go to the next slide. So this one I really wanted to ask you about because when I go to Paris, especially, I want to dress nicer because it's an opportunity to do that. But I've watched Emily in Paris, which maybe is all about the fashion, and some of the fashions are like whoa out there. So I'm just wondering, I'm confused now about how to dress. I don't want people to think I'm French. I just want to fit in a little bit more and do something à la française. So tell us a little bit about that. And you've given us some stuff here to look at.
Yes. So first of all, yes, Paris is not France, and France is much bigger than just Paris. So a lot of foreigners, when they think of it, it's like if I say, okay, I'm going, to the US and thinking I'm going to New York, but I'm ending up in the countryside, far of in the Massachusetts. You have to understand that not everybody is this super chic, fancy, slim, edgeless French woman. Nope, 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 nope. You have also normal
Yeah.
French person.
Mm-hmm.
People, you have punks in Paris. You even have people that follow the kawaii, I forgot the name of the country, Korean style of
Korean style.
dressing, etc. So
Mhm.
everything is possible, and more also comfort is being, the American comfort is being kind of taking over also France.
Mhm.
Now, if as a tourist it amuses you to dress a little bit more chic, a little bit more French, or to the French idea that you have, yes, of course, it's your vacation. Do whatever pleases you. Um, Dress for comfort. Don't forget that, yeah, if you are going to France, even more so if you're going to Paris, chances are that you're going to be walking everywhere. And
Yeah.
so I'd always pick my shoes accordingly. Um, I like to wear heels myself, not very big heels, small heels, but if I go out, I like to put them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have them in my bag, as simple as that. So uh, when you are in a big city, or in general when you're traveling, it's a good idea to be prepared for everything,
Mm.
because you may have decided that you will go to a museum this afternoon and then come back at the hotel and change and go for dinner after. But things change. You go to the museum, it's
You
a
don't have time to go
fantastic
back. No.
museum. You
Uh-huh.
have a wonderful time, and oops, you forgot to look at your watch, and that's it. Or outside of the museum was a beautiful garden. You sat there, you fell asleep, you took a nap, and then suddenly it's dinner time. Okay. So why go back to the hotel and change? And unless you want to take a nap and so on,
Mhm.
you can easily, you know, pick some clothes that you can dress up with a scarf, a little bit of jewels. I usually, yeah,
Jewelry. Mhm. A
I
nice
always
bag too.
carry.
I always seem to, it's fun to have a nice bag or something, just something to dress.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it takes a
Get
little bit of
inspired by.
preparation, but yeah, I often carry in my bag some shoes for the evening if I feel like putting some heels on, long earrings, especially
Yeah.
since I have short hair. I
Me too.
can accessorize with that, and a scarf, and that's it. I'm ready to go for dinner, and yeah, it's good. And you end your slice, but by but adding something fun. Yes, if you feel like wearing a beret in Paris because it makes you feel special and so on, do it. Why not? Have fun. You know, again, it's your vacation. So
And we're going to explore more fashion with another guest I'm having a bit in the future, but that helps a lot. Let's go to the last slide here before we start to wrap things up. All right. Be careful of the place you choose to practice your French. Okay, tell me about that.
well, yeah, I meet a lot of people who actually tell me, "Oh, I'm so excited. I want to practice my French. I'm going to for a vacation this year, and I'm going to Paris in August." And I'm thinking, okay, you know, in Paris, a lot of people speak English,
More
and
now too, actually. Yeah.
yes, and a lot of waiters, a lot of people in shops, a lot of people that you think you will interact with are likely to speak English better than you speak French,
Or want to.
and they
Want to
all
practice
want to.
themselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I find that a
They
lot.
don't quite have understood that some tourists also come to France to practice their French. Okay, so don't hesitate to actually be firm, polite, smile, but politely and firmly say, if you speak French well enough, je voudrais parler français, s'il vous plaît. But if you say that, you cannot be a beginner because you're taking the time for this waiter who is probably waiting on 40 tables all by himself. Okay.
Yep.
And he speaks perfect English. So for him, it doesn't matter, speak French or speak English to you. If it can be as fast, not a problem. So if you're an advanced speaker and you want to practice your French, be firm and tell them with a smile, je voudrais parler français. Okay. And then you speak French. If you are a beginner, don't go to Paris in August to practice your French. You know, come to Paimpol in the midst of winter.
Go somewhere else.
Will be
Absolutely.
so happy. You know,
go somewhere
to
else.
The countryside. Exactly. Go to Suzanne. I see Carole wrote at the beginning that she went for 2 weeks in immersion at Suzanne's house, who lives not far from me in Brittany, actually, in Jugon-les-Lacs, which is a teeny little village where very few people speak English. That's the perfect place to go to practice your French.
And Carole also added just now in the chat that she talks to cab drivers who seem to be very willing to speak to her. So I find that too, you know, and tip them well.
Yeah, with that smile, I'm sure they want to speak to her. Hi, Carole.
Yeah. So we've learned lots of things today. I mean, bonjour is really important. I'm going to, order my café crème. I'm going to put a scarf on. You know, I'm not going to, I'm going to try to talk to the waiters and see what happens, but all of that.
And, and somebody said also in the comment, Martin said that you can order un noisette or voilà, or un expresso avec un nuage de lait. Okay. But what about an nopi? I don't know what the nopi is. I personally have never heard that. So maybe you can tell us in the comments after, Martin, because I don't know what it is.
I just more about the noisette is that's like a little espresso. It's like an espresso, but they add the little milk in there, and it's lovely. And people,
absolutely.
Sometimes that for lunch as well as that. Yeah. Okay. Somebody's saying she can't read the list of do's and don'ts. Well, Winifred, don't worry, Winifred. I'm sending this all out to everybody afterwards, the recording, so you get to see all of that. I'm sorry you can't see that. But now we want to go to a little bit of a giveaway draw, which Camille has been very generous that she's going to give away. Tell us what you're giving away. We're giving it to 2 people.
What am I giving away? I know. I remember. I was just joking. Yes, I'm giving one of my audiobooks, which is called Modern French Phrase Book, and this is not that one. That one is free. This one is
stay there.
Okay, so I'm giving away in a phrase book, which will cover all kind of typical situation any tourist is bound to encounter when they go to France. There are tips as well. And all this audiobook, there's 1,100 sentences, and I believe it covers 13 hours of audio because everything is recorded in very enunciated French, but also in modern French. So you'll have both the pronunciation.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I have what I call my little Paris box. Whoops, I can't, can anybody see that? There we are. Oh no, I'm got the pictures. There we go. Pictures are small. And in here I put all the names of the people that are participating today. So I don't have anybody here except myself to walk to do the draw. So I'm just gonna pick a name without looking. Let's see. And hopefully they're online. Is Lisa Steele online? Lisa Steele. If not, we're going to move on to somebody else. Let us know, Lisa. You have like a second to do that.
Lisa is not here.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Okay. That's too bad. Okay. Here we go. Diane Evans. We're picking all the people that didn't show up today. We had a lot of people sign up.
And Diane is not here also.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That's not good. Let's pick up. Yeah. More for somebody else. This is good, right? Oops, I'm not looking. I'm not looking. Where are we? Okay. Isabel Alexander.
Yes, I see somebody going, way.
Oh, nice.
Here.
Isabel, I've been conversing with you, and now I get to see your face. So that's for you. So I will arrange for that to go out to you, okay? And for the key to, oh, that's wonderful. All right. All right, I'll pick one more here. Okay. And Susan Patterson, are you online today?
We have a Susan, but no last name. So,
oh well, that might be just good enough. Who's the Susan with no last name?
no, it's a Susan with no last name.
Is she there? No, she's.
Excuse me, her camera is on.
All right, Susan Nobleman, you win. You're going to get one. Okay, so we've got the two. So Susan Nobleman and Isabel. All right, good. Okay. Now, I know there's disappointing you didn't win, but we do have free things for you on Camille's website. So let's go to the next slide and say she does have, and this is really good, by the way. She has a free audiobook, which is 2.5 hours long. And I've started listening to it. It's really good. And I speak almost fluent French, but I learned some things doing this, and I think it's lovely. So do you want to explain that, Camille? And anybody can go to her website and get this book. It's terrific.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's so this is kind of a sample of my audiobook method. So it covers different levels. It's recorded in enunciated, but also in modern French. And it will give you a little bit of an approach of, show you my method and so on. It's not as structured, of course, as my method, which is really gradual and has a lot of grammatical explanation. It's more of a sample of what you could, the vibe of my method. And there's also the blog, which has more than 600 articles and so on. So a lot, yes.
Yeah, and in the next slide, you've got lots of material everywhere on Instagram, on YouTube, you've got videos. And of course, the website is worth having a look at, guys, because there's some interesting stuff for people who are interested in practicing and getting better at their French. So, okay. All right. Well, listen, thank you, Camille, so much. I can see why you and your method are so popular, and we really appreciate you taking the time with us today. So thank you for that. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dinah. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Mark, as well, and the team behind for organizing all that. And thank you for all of you who are here. And I recognize a lot of names here, and it's wonderful to see you. And let's chat. You can always connect with me, send me an email, and I will answer. And thank you very much.
Yeah, and I just actually want to make special note to those of you who are here today as guests of Camille. Thank you so much for joining us. But as part of your registration, I just want you to know that you are automatically subscribed to my blog at womanofacertainageInParis.com, the next of which comes out this Sunday. You can, of course, unsubscribe. That is your right, but I'm hoping you won't, because I love writing stories about France, and they're all about women our age. And I also will be sending all of you in particular an email later this week for a special offer. So make sure you have a look at that email and also see the blog. Thank you, Mark, and the team in Vancouver. And once again, thank you to my Paris Club members. And stay well, stay safe, and start planning that next trip to France, no matter when it is. So thanks again. Au revoir et à la prochaine.
Merci.